Aye. Call us to order.
Okay, we're gonna call the order today is May 14th. This is the 11 o'clock session of the Baltimore City Liquor Board.
Where's our court reporter?
Oh, you know what, he'll be right.
He was here when I walked in. He just must have just walked out, so that's.
Here he comes, he's running in.
I'm sorry, I'm waiting for you.
What do you call him here? I call him
the
court
ski-
reporters. Do you have some other name?
Court reporter.
All right,
okay.
ready?
Yep.
Call the case.
Good morning, today is May 14th, 2014, 11 o'clock. The first case is Glenn Ray Senior. Trade name is Downtown Tavern, 837 to 39 West Broad Street. This is a Class B beer, wine, liquor, an application for transfer of ownership.
For the record, Melvin J. Kaminsky representing the applicant. It's an application to transfer of a pending license. The applicants met with the citizens of Pigtown, and I think they have a letter if they're in favor of the transfer.
Yes.
Executive Secretary, seeing a copy.
And what's the name of the group? Citizens.
of Pigtown.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray, you've been on the license there
Now, you are the esquire for the,
for the applicant.
all right, you gonna have any testimony?
Other than he fed because he had been licensed before, he's going back on the license, he knows the community, he's met with the community. It's a straight transfer of BD7, no live entertainment, no outdoor table service. And some substance, he'll take the alcohol awareness course again, and that's pretty much it.
All right, is there any opposition that you know of?
No.
Questions of commissioners?
None.
Who's who? Who's coming? You're,
Mr. Ray,
and he's going on to the application.
he's going on.
Right,
That's the secure part of the seller.
okay.
All right. How'd
How
you-
long ago was he on the license?
He was on it until recently, when
What
he,
does that mean?
about a year ago, when he
Okay.
came off on it. Yeah. And then, there's a song, who put the whammy on Mr. Ray, I think. Mr. Ray Hairweave? Anybody remember?
Oh, Mr. Ray's hair weave, yeah. I actually do know that. I don't know it as a song, but,
The Junkyard Saints is the name of the group.
okay.
All right, no other questions? I vote yes.
Yes.
All right, you have our decision.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You gotta give him a check for 100.
Yes.
You ready?
Okay.
Yeah, are you ready? Yes. Call it.
Yes, sir, 1 second. There you go. Over across the street. The next one, number 2 has been postponed, the Pincus Group. It will be back on May 28th. So the next case is Lori Gertie and Kathleen Burke, Dagwood LLC. Trade name is Hux, at 3728 Hudson Street. This is a Class BD7, beer, wine, and liquor. Application for transfer of ownership and a request for outdoor table service.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Stephen Fogelman of 1720 Thames Street on behalf of the applicants.
All right, do you have any testimony?
Yes, we'll have some brief testimony. Thank you.
Witnesses.
Raise your right hand, please. Please swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
All right, thank you very much. But before I call my first witness, if I may introduce a couple of quick exhibits.
All right, introduce the files. Exhibit 1, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. For Exhibit 2, I'd ask that you introduce the following exhibit. It's a basic business plan and menu. I have copies for each of the commissioners. I'd ask that one of them be submitted as Exhibit 2.
All right, Exhibit 2, mark it.
All right, so Hux is at 3728 Hudson Street. It's at the corner of Hudson Street and Eaton, South Eaton Street in Brewers Hill, adjacent to Canton. I'm a resident of Canton, but I live closer to this establishment than I do to many of the bars on O'Donnell Square. I've been a customer for many years at the predecessor called Elliott's Pour House. It's been a nice center of the community where people get together. Unlike Canton, Brewers Hill doesn't have the amount of dining options that the adjacent neighborhood has. And as that neighborhood is growing, what Miss Lori Gertie and Miss Burke want to do here will be a very welcome addition. Huck's American Craft will serve local and regional dishes, local and regional spirits and craft beers. And Mr. Charlie Jurdy is married to the applicant Lori Jurdy. He's here. Mr. Jurdy currently operates Alexander's Tavern and also is affiliated with Poppy's, two very successful restaurants in Fells Point. The applicants met with the Community Association, the Brewers Hill Community Association, who submitted a letter of support, which is attached to the exhibit. The only thing that was left open was outdoor tables in that letter because the next-door neighbor had some questions about the outdoor tables. The Jurdys and Ms. Podles, an investor, signed an MOU with Ms. Jessie Weiss, who resides next door to the bar at 3726 Hudson Street, and agreed that they would only place one table on the Hudson Street side of the restaurant, and that was agreeable to her. I finally have a drawing showing the location at Hudson and Eaton Street with the proposed outdoor tables. And at this time, I would call Lori Jurdy. Thank you. Ms. Jurdy, you've been sworn. If you want to step as close to that microphone as you can. Thank you. All right.
Before we go any further, do we have the transferor here?
We do not have the transfer here. Mr. Mason has moved to Delaware. He is represented by counsel locally, but he is not present.
Did we have this one before?
No, you didn't have this one before. He had a different one where the person was out of town.
And this is another one that's moved out of state.
Well, they're supposed to be here or else get permission not to be here.
All right, so is it possible, it's going to have to be rescheduled? There's no way I can get
I'm thinking seriously of just entering a fine.
a fine on behalf of the,
Fine of him, on behalf of him for not being here.
all right, can we stand down for a moment and,
No,
no.
absolutely not. If he's not here and there's no excuse and there's no letter, nothing, he fines $250.
All right,
He has to pay it. You mark it down.
all right, can we proceed today?
Sure, we're going to
Okay.
keep right on going.
All right, thank you.
It'll be no prejudice to you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, you'll see the menu, it's attached as
I'm sure
well.
It's worth it to him not to come for $250.
So-
Anyway, go ahead.
Right, and like I had a client in Chicago a couple weeks ago, I think he would have prepaid that.
It's, was some time ago, this was adopted, and maybe it's a mistake, but I believe, and the commissioners with me believe that the licensee should be here. And it's a serious business, I mean, and may have questions, who knows?
All right, and may I call,
Can't ask questions if people aren't here.
correct.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, Ms. Lori Jurdy will be my first witness. All right, Ms. Jurdy, what experience, if any, do you have in the hospitality industry?
I have worked for years with Charlie and Carrie, my sister, and husband at Alexander's and Poppy's, just on a part-time basis here and there, but I worked all through college and after college part-time in the restaurant business, waiting tables, bartending.
And until recently, what was your full-time employment?
I was a project manager with Price Modern
And have you resigned from that position?
2 weeks ago,
All right, and what is your intention going forward?
being a managing partner.
All right, will you be the day-to-day manager of the operations?
Yes, I will.
Okay, and you'll become alcohol management certified?
Yes.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
Yes, just Kathleen Burke, who's also applicant.
Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Berg.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. You're going to be a licensee, applied to be a licensee here at the premises that will be known as Huck's at 3728 Hudson Street.
Yes,
All right, and you have some experience in the alcoholic beverage management industry, or restaurant industry?
I do. I worked all through college in restaurants and bars, and after college, when I was in nursing school, I worked in Fells Point bars.
And although you won't be the manager, you will be involved hands-on every week in the business, isn't that right?
Correct, I'll be checking in. I'm an investor.
Okay.
Any
Is-
other witnesses?
No, thank you. I
Who's
would,
Ms. Poodles?
I believe she's an investor. She an applicant or an investor? She is my understanding is she's working a catering operation this morning, and she was going to try to be
Does
here.
that any relation to the Poodles that used to have the bar over there?
I don't think so. No.
This is her sister.
I'm her sister. We have Pottles
You
family.
ever heard
over-
of the Poodles? But,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
no, okay.
We've had
Disregard.
family in Baltimore for.
Disregard. Commissioners' questions?
No questions.
No,
I vote yes.
yes.
You vote, ma'am?
I just have one question. I apologize. The last inspection was September 30, 2014, and this establishment was open. Has it remained open and the license in use?
I'm happy to address that because I happen to be in that establishment on the last night of its operation under the last owner. He was a prospective client of mine to obtain outdoor table service. And I visited the establishment, and it was December 13th, 2015 was the last time he was open. I'm sorry,
24.
that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's like, you're really amazing.
Time traveling liquor lawyer.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
December 13th, 2014, I was in the establishment. The establishment was closed for about 45 days and then reopened 2 or 3 times in the last 2 months in order to keep the operation
Okay,
current.
okay.
But as far as 7 days a week till 2 a.m., December 13th is when that stopped.
Okay. But
So,
this
and
license is alive and
absolutely, I'm
valid,
happy to
no
say there's no
issues?
issues on this
Okay.
one, definitely.
All right. Well, with that clarity, then I vote yes.
Thank you.
All right, you have a decision.
Thank you very much.
All right, best of luck to you.
Authority of the chairman to contempt of court, failure to carry out our resolutions.
So we can leave it.
All right, call the next case.
Yes, sir. It's Mingo Grant, Two Spot Inc., trade name Grant's Two Spot. This is located at 2 North Wheeler Avenue, a Class BD7 beer, wine, liquor, an application for transfer of ownership.
For the record, Melvin J. Kaminsky, 19 East Fayette Street, represented the applicant. This was a case where we had requested that the PR be excused since he lives in California, and the board granted
I
the
grant
excusal.
your request, right.
And in this case, this is basically an inter-family transfer. The Grant family had owned this place for 40 or 50 years. Mr. Leno Grant had passed away. The estate was open. Mingo is his son. Mingo's been actually operating the Two Spots since 2010. And he's otherwise qualified to be the applicant.
Any other testimony? Any other evidence?
That's all I have.
Okay, the files admitted Exhibit 1. Questions of commissioners?
What was the Grant first name? Who owned before you?
Leno.
Leno?
And the person, no, you.
Go ahead.
The new licensee is
It's Mingo.
Mingo Grant,
Mingo Grant's son.
pardon me?
His son.
Mingo Grant's son.
Leno's.
Son Mingo.
Okay, all right. So the new licensee is Mingo Grant.
Same corporation, yeah, just the new, the son is going to take place of the father,
All right, so what is the name of the new licensee?
Mingo Grant.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. And what do we know about Mingo Grant and his ability to run a bar?
He's been a
and-
manager there since 2010 and has been running the
Okay.
place.
All right, so what else do we know about him and his eligibility to have the license and run the bar? Are there any
Other than
issues
he's
or
been running it for
concerns?
the last 5 years
And there-
when
There've been no violations,
no violations,
problems?
and it's a real quiet little, I should say spot, because I'm going to play with words there. The Two Spot's been there for a long, long time. In fact, that the Grant family owns probably, would you say, 8 or 10 houses all around that area, and they're very good landlords for everybody there.
Okay, all right, those are the questions that I have.
Do you know a James Grant?
That was my uncle.
Your
Yes.
uncle?
Yes, sir. How about Ulysses?
You know, I knew James Grant very well.
Yeah, that's my father's brother.
I vote yes.
Yes.
You have our decision, sir.
Thank you.
You ready?
One second.
I give you a receipt. Director of Finance.
For school organizations.
You must be doing all right.
Sure. It's Suri Thebe and Sylvia Serchan, Muna LLC, trade name pending. This is at 4502-04 Erdman Avenue. This is a Class BD7 beer, wine, liquor, and it's just for the transfer of ownership. The request for the live entertainment has been removed by the applicant.
That's correct. Now, for the record, Melvin J. Cadency representing the applicants. I have with us here, this is the current licensee. She's the one that's transferring to the two individuals here. The landlord was here, and he had to leave. The two applicants in this case presently both work at the Kamari Restaurant, and upon the approval by the board of the transfer, they will then leave the Kamari and will be working at this establishment. There'll be no change in the operation. You'll take the alcohol awareness course. They are familiar with the service of persons who have to be over 21, and there really is no community group right there on Urban Avenue. You may remember, it used to be the New Freedom Shopping Center years ago, and then Freedom is up on top of that hill there. Mhm.
Any opposition?
No opposition,
Any other testimony?
no other testimony.
To file Exhibit 1, Commissioner questions.
Who is the Baltimore resident? You. Oh, do we have?
I don't know his name. What's your name?
Sora Theba, he's the, they both work at Kamari.
Okay, so maybe you should answer because
Yeah.
neither have been sworn in.
Okay.
So for the Baltimore resident, it would be Mr. Thebe?
Right.
Okay.
And he's actually going to be working there 6 or 7 days a week, along with Shova. So between the two of them, they're both going to leave Kamari.
And we don't have an address for Shova?
7840 St. Thomas Drive.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, in Baltimore.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Vote yes?
Yes.
Would you say?
Yes.
No. All right, you have our decision, sir.
From Nepal, so we have the situations that are working on.
Wow.
Is family okay in Nepal? Yeah? Good. Okay.
Okay.
All right, last case.
Thank you.
Tell me when you're ready.
Mhm. Okay. Oh, do you have a check for $100?
Ready?
$100 check. You can, I'll just say. 1 second, sir. There's your, right across the street. Okay, this next one is Young Min Chang and Shirley Payne, 99 Uptown Inc., trade name Uptown Bar. This is at 1901 Edmondson Avenue. This is a BD7, beer, wine, and liquor license, and application for transfer of ownership.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Your name, sir?
My name is Jay Yu, representing the transferee, 99 Uptown Inc., and applicants, Mr. Chang and Mrs. Payne.
All right, you have testimony.
No, Your Honor, we'll be proceeding by way of
All right,
proffer.
I'll be glad to hear from you.
That's right.
Do we,
File the
bef-
exhibit, put in Exhibit 1.
could you ask if we have the transferor here?
Yes, Your Honor. The transferor, Mr. Shin, is present.
All right, be glad to hear from you.
Mr. Chang is the applicant, and Mrs. Payne will be the resident agent applicant in this matter, Your Honor. Mrs. Payne is a longtime Baltimore City resident, and she's a real property owner for 28 years, I believe. And she is current on the real estate taxes. She's been consistently paying for 28 years. And Mr. Chang does have a prior experience running a bar and a tavern business, Your Honor. And Mrs. Payne also has some experience being a resident agent under a liquor license, Your Honor. And thus far, I believe that they qualify as as the applicant for the liquor license, Your Honor. And Mr. Chang, through me, contacted Midtown Edmondson Avenue.
You need to speak louder and speak into the mic,
Yes, Your Honor.
please.
Mr. Chang, through me, has contacted the Midtown Community Association, and I did speak with Ms. Zarma, and she has indicated that Mr. Shin has been very cooperative with the community, and they endorse the transfer, and that Mr. Chang will also be actively engaged with the community, cooperating with the community, and betterment and the improvement of the community as well. And I have also contacted ARCO President Mr. Hunt, and Mr. Chang will be attending their meeting in 2 weeks. I have to look at it. It's a Alliance of Rosemont Community Organizations. Alliance of Rosemont Community Organizations. That's Mr. Robert Hunt, who's the president. And
Their position?
they're not opposing, Your Honor. But we will be attending.
Any known opposition?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor.
Anything else?
No further, Your Honor.
Questions, commissioners?
Do we have anything in writing from any of the community associations regarding their position? Well, you say that you've actually met with them?
I spoke
You
on the phone.
spoke with them?
Yes.
Because we usually have someone from Midtown present and attending anytime there's a transfer. And this is the first one where there's not been anybody present in the room from Midtown. So that concerns me a little, that we don't have anything affirmative one way or the other from Midtown.
I understand, Your Honor.
And the name that you mentioned is not the name that we normally hear from.
Yes.
So that concerns me a little.
Anything else?
And you said that we're going to be getting something in writing from
I
the
will
community
contact.
associations?
I will contact Ms. Zelda. She, I believe, is the person within that organization who has been actively involved with this particular bar, and Mr. Shin, I guess, somewhat of a coordinator between the organization and Mr. Shin's business. So
Okay.
she was the person that I contacted, and I spoke with her in person, not in person, but over the phone, and she did endorse verbally of the transfer. And if I will try to obtain a written endorsement from the community and submit it to the board, Your Honor.
And I'm looking at the application. Mr. Chang is the applicant?
Yes, sir.
And he's already on a license? It says yes. Or did that end in June? You expect that to end in June 2015? What is the status of him, Mr. Chang, being on another license?
Are you on
Wait,
Oh, wait.
wait.
You know what? I
Just ask him.
I correct myself. He was, but he currently is not. Is that correct?
That's my understanding,
Okay.
Your Honor.
All right. And does he live in Baltimore? And so there's an address, 1300 Lawrence Street, or he lives in Ellicott City?
Yes.
And he's only been there for 4 months?
To my understanding,
And
yes.
where did he live prior to Ellicott City?
Normandy, 52, Norman Drive.
Your Honor, Mr. Chang, previous to that, resided at 2952 Normandy Drive, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21043.
That's listed as his current address? That's listed as his current address.
222 Bromley Court, Woodstock, Bromley, B-R-O-M-L-E-Y, Bromley Court, Woodstock.
Your Honor, Mr. Chang resided at 2222 Bromley, spelled B-R-O-M-L-E-Y, Court, Woodstock, Maryland. Prior to that, Your Honor.
Ms. Payne then is the Baltimore resident.
That's correct, Your Honor.
She's gonna be more than a resident agent, right? I mean, her role is, she's gonna be on the license.
Yes, Your Honor. She will be the treasurer of the corporation.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking is you refer to her repeatedly as the resident agent, which she's actually going to be on the license, and she's responsible for what does or doesn't happen under the license. She understands that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, vote yes.
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 All right, you have our decision, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, and that completes our morning docket.
Yes, sir.
We'll stay in recess until 1 o'clock.
Well, wait, what happened to, don't we need to announce that they've been pulled from the docket?
Both of the last two items, which include the two hardship extensions, will be rescheduled for June 4th.
See you guys, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Okay, thank
See you
you.
at 1 o'clock, folks.
Okay.
I'm all right. Witter?
I'm going to call to order. Please everyone be seated.
All right. No, you're not going to be called first. Did you get your OT slip? All right. Don't worry about it.
Okay, everyone, we're going to be seated. We're going to call to order.
You're going first.
This is the 1 o'clock liquor license for Board of Liquor License Commissioners for May 14th, 2014. The first case in the docket, Mr. Akers.
I'm going to be calling Five Seasons LLC, Solomon Belay, trading as Five Seasons. My officer is present. Thomas Akers, on behalf of the Liquor Board, we're ready.
All right, go ahead. Call it, please.
Your Honor, I had spoken with, and if you want to introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Solomon Belay. I'm the owner of Five Seasons and also House Lounge.
I spoke to Mr. Belay before the board came out. Mr. Belay wants to go forward with the case. I just wanted to make sure on the record he knew he had the opportunity, if he wanted to plead uncontested to the facts, and then the board would make a decision in regards to punishment. But I wanted to let him know that on the record, and just to be clear, that he understood that.
That's correct.
Okay? I'm looking forward to that.
Go ahead.
Mary, that microphone? Pull this way. Be calling my first witness, Officer Derrimer.
Yes.
Okay, please state your name for the record.
Jordan Dammer.
And,
Spell it.
well, you got to get sworn first.
Raise your right, both,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name for the record.
Jordan Dermer.
Spell your last
How do
name.
you,
Deremer.
And Officer Derrimer, how long have you been working with the Baltimore City Police Department?
Approximately 5 years.
And did you, what are your duties working with the Baltimore City Police Department?
Patrol officer.
And did you have the opportunity to be working as a patrol officer on February 24th, 2015 at approximately midnight?
Yes.
And on that date and time, did you have the opportunity to respond to 830 Guilford Avenue?
Yes.
And is that in Baltimore City, State of Maryland?
Yes, it is.
And what were the circumstances in which you responded to that scene?
I had received a call from KGA for a report of an aggravated assault.
And when you came onto the scene, what, if anything, did you observe?
Once entering the location, I observed a male laying on the ground on the dance floor, approximately 10 feet from the bar. He was bleeding from his head and also from his back.
If you could describe, you said you went in, what did you go into?
I entered a bar.
Okay, is it a nightclub or a bar?
Yes, a
Describe that.
nightclub.
Okay, with a dance floor area?
Yes, a dance floor, an elevated stage, and then also a full bar.
Okay, and when you entered, you saw the victim lying down. What, if anything, did you do after seeing the victim?
Upon seeing the victim, I verified through KGA that a medic was en route for the victim. Upon that time, I'd started to speak to him to try to find out what occurred and also his name.
And what, if anything, did you find out?
He stated that he had been stabbed.
Okay, and after he made that statement, what were your observations of the scene itself?
It was chaotic at best. There was glass over by the bar, and there were people on the elevated stage.
Okay. And in your observations of the scene, was it consistent with what you saw or what you believed to be stabbing wounds?
Yes.
Can you explain that?
There was, with the broken glass, I was told by the security that had actually called that the gentleman had been hit over the head, which would have been consistent with the injuries to the back of his head.
Was there blood anywhere?
Yes, there was blood on the back of his head, and there was congealed blood on the ground around him.
Okay. And at any time did the victim become unresponsive?
He was, during talking to him, his speech was gargled the entire time, and then when the medics arrived on scene is when he started to become unresponsive.
Okay. Did the medics happen to take him away?
Yes.
And what, if anything, do you know happened to the victim?
He had stopped breathing in the medic, and the medics ended up working on him, from what I was told.
Did he happen to pass away?
Yes, he passed away.
Okay. And to the best of your recollection, do you recall the name of the individual?
Lee Dell Brown, I believe.
Okay. And did you happen to write a report?
Yes.
I'm now showing you what's marked as exhibit number 1. Could you tell the board what is that?
This is the report that I wrote.
Does it have a CC number?
The CC number is 151B8648.
Okay. We're moving to evidence copy of the police report.
Mark it.
Mark.
Exhibit 1.
Thank you. Now, after the medics had transported the victim out of the area, did you have any interaction with the licensee and/or the bartender?
Yes.
Could you please describe to the board what your interaction was with the licensee and bartender?
Before the victim had actually been transported, I had to tell the bar owner who's sitting next to the state's attorney to stop cleaning up the glass. And then within 5 minutes, it was later determined that his son, I didn't know it was his son at the time, but it was the bartender, had actually come out from behind the bar, and the glass that I had told the owner to stop cleaning up, he had started to clean up. And I had to tell him the second time to stop cleaning up the glass.
Now, why would you tell him to stop cleaning up the glass?
Because it's a crime scene.
And what about a crime scene makes it important not to alter?
We need all of the evidence that we can get when we're on scene.
And how many times did you tell both the bartender and or the licensee to stop cleaning up?
I had to tell each of them probably twice.
Okay.
2 times, each of them.
Yes, sir.
Now, were there any pictures taken of the scene?
Yes.
Okay. I'm now showing you collectively what's been marked as Exhibit 2, and you can just kind of leaf through those pictures quickly. Now, are those true and accurate representations of the bar area, the crime scene that you observed that evening?
Yes.
Okay. And may I approach?
Yes.
You can take a look at those. No? Moving into evidence is exhibit number 2. Mark. Collectively.
Mark it Exhibit 2.
What do you want me to do with it?
No, I was just waiting for him to
Oh.
enter into evidence. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. And just continue, did you have any opportunity to speak to the security staff or personnel that evening?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did they do to prevent this incident, to the best of your knowledge?
As far as I know, they stated they had broken up an original fight, and that once everybody was separated, they let them go back to what they were doing inside the club.
Was anybody exited from the club after that fight?
Not that I'm aware of.
And did the security personnel make any attempts to identify or secure this individual who committed the act against Mr. Brown?
No.
Okay. When the act was committed against Mr. Brown, were security personnel present?
They were.
Did they do anything, to the best of your knowledge, to break up the incident?
I do not know if they did anything or not.
Okay. No further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, call your next witness.
That would be our case, Your Honor.
All right. Sir, you have the right to testify or say anything you wish to say. You wish to testify?
Sure, yeah, I just want to give the whole picture. Actually,
Your name, sir?
my name is Solomon Belai. I'm
And
the
your
owner of
position with respect to the business location?
830 Guilford Avenue.
And
In
were you
Baltimore.
present at the time?
Yes.
All right, and tell us what you want to tell us.
Yeah, actually, I didn't see the whole thing. I was in the kitchen and basically cleaning up the kitchen at the time. But my security report indicating that initially the event is supposed to be on the 22nd, Sunday. We had a bad weather, and a lot of people came out of town to perform. So Monday just put together a few people to come and perform and just have a good time. But this event started at 9 p.m., ended up at 11:45. And 11:45, total about 15 to 20 people was as the guest and the performer that day. And when we turned the light on, almost about 8-9 people left, and the rest of the people stayed there. And when security went to the bathroom, there were 7 people fighting each other.
How many?
7 people fighting each other, including Mr. Brown. And the security basically broke up a fight, and half of the people left, and the building, and then maybe 3-4 people, I don't know exact number, brought a fight onto the main floor, and they were beating him up, So it was maybe the whole fight took maybe it's about 3-4 minutes. And Mr. Brown, at the time, security called immediately. One of the securities beat up from one of the guys who beat him up on the mouse. I have 2 big guys security, and they called police immediately. And Mr. Brown left by himself, sitting on the floor. He was basically bleeding, and that was about before 12 o'clock. And while the police is coming, it's a regular routine. We start picking up, cleaning up the floor, picking up bottles, broken glasses, and that's what, the regular routine after the light is on. That's why we never intended to destroy any evidence, because I have nothing to do with everybody. So at around 12, after 12 o'clock, the police officer arrived and take some information and start talking to the victim. And EMT came around 12:15, 12:20, and actually he was responding to them. He was sitting on the stretcher. They took out his clothes, they cleaned him up, they took him after that. Immediately, we never, thought that it's going to be, homicide. And, one time I was cleaning up, taking out cups and stuff, bottles, and the officer told me stop, and then I stopped. Around 1 o'clock, maybe 1:15, we heard the news, Mr. Brown is passed away. Police came to us. Immediately we have to stop cleaning. And we didn't do anything after that, And then they took some of the employees, and one of the customers had been taken to the police department for questions. So in this case, I'm a victim myself. Since this has happened, I lost half of the people who's coming there. People are afraid, and but it's a tragedy. This has happened, but we did the best security we have for the number of people there. So, you know, I don't even understand all this violation of the rules written for me, and I should disagree, you know,
Which one do you disagree with?
all three of them,
All three of them?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Would you give me a permission to, you know, the board to ask the officer a question?
Sure.
All right. Good afternoon, officer, you know. Were you the first officer to respond?
Yes.
You know, I know some, you know, I've been doing some research. Do you have the proper training how to protect crime scene?
Yes.
Have you done that before?
Yes.
Okay. What was the first thing you did when you came?
First thing I did was I talked to your security officer.
Okay. What is the procedure?
I
for
spoke to him.
Securing crime scene.
When securing the crime scene, first thing we do is we separate everybody and maintain the evidence in that scene.
So did you do that?
Yes.
Did you?
I told
Okay.
all of your patrons that were still inside the store to go up onto the elevated platform where there was no evidence.
So when after you arrived, how many officers came in?
After that, there were approximately 10 to 12 officers that showed up to
Okay.
assist because of the number of people still in the establishment.
So those officers, EMTs, and everybody walking around the floor?
Yes.
Okay. So that means they were walking around the evidence.
We maintain a crime scene log for that.
Okay.
It died.
Can you give me a timeline, you know, all this activity, the time you arrive, the time you leave?
Talk right to the microphone. sir.
Okay. Can you give them timeline, the time you arrived and the time, basically, the first hour?
What are you looking for with that?
Yeah, well, I'm looking for that is, you know, what is the standard procedure for all police departments while investigating a crime scene?
Objection.
Staying. Got nothing to do with it. Go ahead, next question.
Because this establish, Your Honor, establish a proper procedure been done, because that's what I'm asking.
Next question.
I can't ask him.
Have you any other questions?
I do have.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Did you, by any chance, did you put a cone, rope to protect the area from crime scene, anybody entering in that area?
Did you put any rope or cording
rope,
or
yeah.
anything around the crime scene so that no one would go enter it?
We did, yes, to secure the outside of the facility. On the inside, we don't normally cordon off interior areas. We separate people and advise them, you know, that you're not allowed to walk in certain areas. But outside of the location, we did cordon it off so that nobody could enter the crime scene on the outside.
So how do people know that, you know, a certain area they have to walk in or not?
Objection.
I can't understand. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
Didn't hear it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have, Your Honor.
How many more do you
yeah.
have, sir?
3 more questions, okay? I just want to ask him the Rule 118. Can you describe what this Rule 118 is?
What is your question?
I've been asking the question on the violation Rule 118.
And what is your question?
418.
What does it mean? It's not described on his report. I want to know.
4.18,
Up.
violation of Rule 4.18.
He's asking the officer about a Baltimore City liquor regulation. I'm not objecting.
Yes, this is a regulation by the Liquor Board, which explains it in the written document which you received. The officer did not charge. This is our charge. You can ask him about the facts. if you wish.
Yes. Did we did any illegal conduct, do you think?
That's for the board to decide. That he asked, did we do any illegal conduct? Objection, that's for the board to decide.
Yes, sir, that's our decision.
All right. Okay, Your Honor, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, I'm okay.
Do you have any questions of the, not the officer, but this gentleman? Mr. Delay?
Just very quickly, how many security personnel do you have employed with you?
2.
And are they a private security company, or they're just your employees?
It's a private security company.
Okay. Do you have the name of the security company?
Yeah, I unfortunately right here. Actually, if you
Are they licensed and bonded?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
All right.
You can speak to him if you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Or talk to him, and then
All
you
right.
can come back and answer his question.
All right.
The reason
ahead.
is he's not been sworn.
Ma'am.
I don't think he understands, Your Honor.
Okay.
You understand what I said?
Yes.
You want to go over and talk to him?
Yes.
Go
Good.
ahead.
All right.
It's okay.
All right, now, you want to answer his question?
Yes,
To the microphone.
independent security.
Are they licensed and bonded?
I'm not sure. I don't.
Do you, isn't it true you have security cameras in your,
We do, but it's not hooked up.
and it's not working
Yeah,
now?
yeah.
And it wasn't working then?
It wasn't working at all. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, no further questions, Your Honor.
All
I'll
right.
Keep it.
Commissioner questions?
How many people were in the establishment that night? How many guests?
That night is about 15 people altogether.
1-5 or 5-0? 15 people. And 7 of them were fighting in the men's room.
Yeah.
And that was in the men's room.
In the men's room.
And how many
Nobody knew that they were fighting there. Actually, one of the security discover routine checkup. They go in the bathroom once they lie around to make sure nobody in is standing. So he found out those 7 people was fighting.
Here's what's kind of puzzling. Half your patrons leave the area and they go into the men's room, and no security follows them until after a fight has erupted. Do I have that right?
Yeah, actually, security was at the main entrance, both at the lobby, both security.
So both security persons are at the front of the establishment? And none are like within the restaurant, and none were back by the men's room. Is that correct?
Usually, when we have an event like that, and one of the security go inside, check, around, go to the bathroom, make sure everybody's fine, and everything, stay there. But at this time, we turned the light on, both security was outside, and half of the patron is left.
Okay.
And he came and looked at the bathroom, those people still fighting.
And this was a private party that
It's
was
a
happening?
private party, yes.
Okay. And as I understand the testimony, the perpetrator, whoever stabbed Mr. Brown, left. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was, they basically, yes. That's right, yes.
Okay.
There's nobody was there
Okay.
after
No
police
one was
came.
arrested?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
That's correct.
And the officer testified that he told you twice and your son twice to stop cleaning the scene, but you say only once.
Yeah.
So my question is, how many times do you recall being told by the officer or any officer to stop cleaning the scene?
One time, but the second time I was about to go to the bathroom and he told me I can't go there. That's the second
You
time.
could not go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
All right, and what role does your son have in the business?
My son is actually a barback. I was training him, and he comes in. He's 22 years old, and hopefully someday he's going to take the business, So.
Okay. All right, those are the questions I have.
Just one. What's your procedure when there's a fight in your establishment? How do you rate the fights, and how do you make a decision as to whether or not you need to vacate someone, or call the police at the first sign of the first fight? I mean, just tell me, how do you work that
Yeah,
out?
when is normally when 2 people, I mean, we never had that issue before, but usually when people start arguing, security will come separate. The individual, they will take one person outside, keep the other one so they don't fight outside. In this case, it was a group of people, and immediately we have to notify police to come and help. In the meantime, also the security spray, pepper spray to break up, the fight, so.
So you had, I think I heard you testify that there were about 4 or 5 people beating on one person.
Oh, it wasn't only one person. There was, I think there's some people also on Mr. Brown's side too. Yeah, this is a group of fights. Probably they know each other from someplace, possibly, what I suspect. But it's not everybody beating him, but there was two groups fighting.
So someone, your security or you or someone decided that the fight wasn't that great, the first fight wasn't that great, that you had to separate or take someone outside or have someone excuse from the establishment. You felt that you could control the environment, so you let them continue to have fun in your establishment.
Yeah.
Anyone kind of like monitor the activity since it was heightened at that time? Did anyone examine or monitor the environment?
Basically, I praise the security. They did an excellent job breaking up the fight and also calling immediate.
You just told us that someone died from that fight?
Yes.
So they did an excellent job?
No, yeah, they did actually, because the reason I'm saying is there's 7 people is fighting, and also we have 2 security, and they immediately they call police, they break up, they pepper spray, and they separate, but sometimes it's hard to control 7 people, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I just have a couple. How long has the video security system been out of work, out of order?
We have an old camera which has been working, and we did some renovation inside the building. And
Mr. Belay, could I just
Yeah.
just directly answer the question? How long has the security camera been broken?
Maybe I would say about 8 months.
8 months. And that's 8 months prior to this incident?
Yeah,
So for 8 months,
we don't have no security camera.
no security camera. All right, thank you.
Just one last thing. Have you ever had a fight prior to this at your location?
I would say maybe 5 years ago, something like that. People not fight, but people argue or something like that.
Well, here's what I'm recalling about your location. You're in the little mall by the Dunkin' Donuts, and there's also a, what is that? A hookah lounge. We are going to go sometime. We are going to go. I promise you. But there's a hookah lounge, and the last time that you were in front of us, you were trying to get us to give you permission to be open essentially from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and that request was denied because, in part, there had been a very serious incident with patrons at the hookah lounge where somebody left and was shot, right? And so it's established that in that area at night, there have been a number of problems at night. And there were a lot, I remember there was very healthy testimony about a lot of problems at your establishment. I mean, even to the question of the name, 5 Seasons and Hotspot, and what is it? So there have been problems. We have it's on record in front of us, in front of this commission, of problems. So I think that's why the questions about the security camera and prior incidents is being asked, and your response is not as consistent with the testimony that we had back in, I think this was in November you were here. Yeah, it was in September.
Yeah, you know, I have a new camera, actually.
Doesn't matter if
been
it's not
installed, but-
plugged in and not used. That's what I tell my kids. I don't care if you have a watch. If you don't look at it and you're never on time to meet with me, what matter does it make that you have a watch? But anyway, you're not here for that lecture. I'll save that for my kids. Anyway, go ahead.
Your Honors, if I may, I think the officer had, based on what Mr. Blade just said, the officer wants to address an issue, if I may let him.
Certainly.
Yes, I've worked permanent midnight shift in Central District since I've been assigned from the academy. On multiple occasions, we have responded to this location as well as the
Wait a
Hoover.
minute, this on punishment, is that right?
This is actually rebuttal to what Mr. Belay just testified to as to we never have any problems. This is our first problem.
Go ahead.
So if I may, how long you been with the, again, assigned at the Central?
About 4.5 years.
So 4.5 years. How many times in those 4.5 years have you gone out to Hotspot, Lounge?
In the 4.5 years, I couldn't tell you the number of times that I've been there. Just in the last year and a half, though, it's been at least probably 10 times. We've had to respond to either their location, the parking lot because of fights breaking out, spilling out from inside the club, or from the location next to it as well. But it's usually when we have to close down his night spot. We, on occasion, will put 10 to 15 officers at nighttime to close down his club to make sure that there's no problems. And that includes, still answering for calls of service as well.
Anything else?
No further questions.
Anything you wish to say about that, sir?
Yeah, I just disagree because sometimes fight next door and they blame it on us. We hardly see fights outside. Of course, we see during the closing, we see police officers coming and monitoring the situation.
Commissioners have any questions as a result of this additional testimony?
Not from me, no.
I'm finished.
All right. Now, the decision. I find that you're responsible for all three charges. Now, sir, we have come to the issue of what we should do about it. Now, what do you want us to do? What do you think is a fair decision with respect to punishment? That's the only issue now,
yeah.
punishment.
I will ask the board to maybe, a small citation. I understand, and
What'd you say?
anything you wanted me to do to implement, improve the situation, and I will do it. And, I always work with the police officers, whatever the situation is. And maybe give me a warning, this first time happen, and in the future, I make sure I will do everything the board want me to do.
Let me ask Ms. Michelle, what was the decision last time with respect to punishment?
The previous violation was in August of 2007.
Yes.
And it was but the last time he was in front of this board. was
Yes,
for-
that's what I'm talking about.
Those were a different matter, so it wasn't in regards to a violation. So when he was here in September of 2014.
Right.
He was here in regards to an expansion request.
And what happened?
And we just denied the expansion request, that was not a violation. But his last violation was in August of 2007. And in that case, there were a series of fines and a total of $1,825. And they were for,
Public welfare and in rules violations. And then 102, it looks like a general operations issue. But they were all,
Excuse me.
102, he had violations of Rule 3.12, which is public welfare, sanitation and safety, 102, and 4.18, which is illegal conduct. And those occurred on May 27th, 2007, but were adjudicated on August 9th of 2007.
Now, you were the owner in 2007,
I was a partner.
partner. Now, do you have any corrections to say with respect to what you said as to your past violation?
Yeah, we correct all the correction we did.
But you agree that that happened?
Yes, I believe, yes.
All right, I'm ready for a decision. All right, sir, with respect to point 302, cooperation, I adopt the police officer's testimony as accurate and believable and serious. Here we have a bar that's almost, in my opinion, based upon the testimony which I have received, which indicates fighting in the men's room, fighting in the main part of the bar, and a private party, no less, where you have the opportunity to observe who you're having in your private party and dealing with the people. And then after the first fighting, you allowed them to remain, and some left, you said, some remain, and the fighting goes on. And of course, the law is that serving alcohol is a privilege, not a right, and you are responsible for the conduct of your employees, and I so find. And the conduct, in this case, you have failed miserably through your security and management, and so this happens. And on top of everything else, we have a death, and which requires a intensive investigation to find out who's responsible. And you have violated all of this with respect to cleaning up. Common sense should tell you that if not from somebody drawing a conclusion from the facts of this case, that you should not do that. You should allow the police to make their investigation, but you did not. You did what you thought was better for the operation of your establishment. Now, with respect to illegal conduct and public welfare, I find both charges sustained, and the punishment that I shall give you with respect to point 302 runs with the other two charges. In other words, I find the principal charge, cooperation, and illegal conduct and public welfare merge into that charge and become also your responsibility. Because of the seriousness of what happened, I'm going to close you, in my opinion, if I'm held up by my fellow commissioners, for 4 weeks. Closed completely. And a punishment of a fine of $2,000 on each charge to run at the same time, so the total fine is $2,000. How much time do you need to pay it?
Your Honor, it's not fair because
How much?
it's not fair. It's not fair for you know, I haven't done anything wrong.
Listen,
Yeah,
how much time do you need to pay the fine?
I need a year to pay off the
That's
fine.
I'll give you exactly 1 month. So my decision is, I've told you before, closed. 4 weeks. $2,000 fine, listen to me, $2,000 fine on 3.02 and 4.18 and 3.12 all run concurrent, which means they run at the same time, which means the total fine is $2,000, payable in 30 days. All right, questions?
Well, I have great concern about your management style. The officer testified that he has been at your establishment at least 10 times. He can recall that right off the top of his head. He doesn't have to look at any record books. I mean, that tells me that your establishment stands out. It's a trouble spot. And you know if it's a trouble spot. If he's been there 10 times, that means that you were there and you were part of that 10 times you were there. So you witnessed these fights. And you somewhat know that these fights can escalate because some of these fights spilled out into the parking lot. So when you had the fight, the one that you're here for today, you knew what the potential was. You know that these fights don't just stop. Sometimes they continue. But the steps taken by you doesn't make me feel satisfied that you did all that you could do to prevent anything further from happening. I just have questions about your management style. Your camera's broken. That's another element. It's broken, and you know you need that camera, but that's why you have it there. You have a new one. It's not even installed yet, a new one. Too much neglect for me. I concur with what the judge stated.
And I join in the decision of Commissioner Jones and Chairman Ward. Really, for all the reasons stated, just the wholesale failure to understand and appreciate the seriousness of why you're here and the potential for great harm to the community is stunning to me. The fact that your security camera didn't work for 8 months prior to this incident, and there really is a healthy record of problems at your establishment, and for your own safety, if for no other reason, you should have that camera and you know it, but yet no camera. The incident occurs and there's no protection for you and there's no protection for the victim, and that's the victim. You're not the victim. To be very, very clear, you are not the victim. The victim is the dead man, Mr. Brown, not you and not your son and not your business. But there's no camera to record what actually happened to him and to arrest someone. But you have this horrible incident. You get a new camera, you don't even install it. And that, to me, is willful disregard of your responsibilities of a liquor license holder in this location. The last thing I'll say is you are greatly benefited by the location. You're not in the middle of a residential area. You're located right off Guilford Avenue in that little scoop out. And the only thing that happens there is you and the hookah lounge and Dunkin' Donuts. There aren't families living right there, and so you've benefited from that. But I think you've just incredibly wasted your opportunity, and it's frightening. And so
That's it?
I concur.
All right. Do you have our decision? I can't hear you, sir.
At least let me open and do some, because of this rain, because of
He'll
all this
explain
event,
that he can
I've
open
lost
with no
so
liquor
much
license.
business I cannot afford. If you let me open and pay whatever the citation is, I would appreciate it.
Our decision is now unanimous, sir. Closed for immediately. The license will be picked up as of now, and you're closed for 1 month, plus the fine. Next case.
Indulgence, did you want to, you look like you want to say something, Commissioner Joe.
Hmm?
Just so I'm understanding, we're gonna pick up the liquor license, so he can sell food, but you
Yeah.
you cannot, the liquor license will be picked up. So there's no sales of liquor, you can sell food, but you cannot sell liquor.
That's right.
All right,
Only talk about the liquor license.
all right, okay.
All
You
right,
wanted me
tell
to
us when
bring
you're
it?
ready.
All right.
Oh, you're all set, you're good to go.
You know, I tell you, I have something to listen to.
Yeah, all guys.
Yeah, when he's talking earlier, I think he's lost control of his business. I think he's very afraid of his patrons.
We're still on. Are you ready? Call the case.
Calling Domingo Kim Enterprises Incorporated Stadium Lounge, Domingo Kim. Tom Saxon on behalf of the Liquor Board.
I apologize, Mr. Ackerson. For the record, Frank Boozer on behalf of Mr. Kim is present to my right. Your Honor, I know I sent to the board the other day a request for a continuance. I'm going to, again, ask that maybe you heard on the request for the continuance. Mr. Ackerson and I have worked out what I believe would be an admission as to 4.15. However, we
And
do...
I didn't catch your last name.
Frank Boozer, B-O-O-Z-E-R. An admission as to 4.15, which would not necessitate testimony in the long trial. However, he has a pending criminal matter coming up in the Wabash District Court on the 29th, in which I am
What I'm going to do now is hear you on your request for a postponement. Go ahead.
That's what I'm asking for, Judge. Thank you.
Yeah.
Coming up on the 29th, as I said, Mr. Ackerson and I have worked out an admission so we can avoid a long trial. I would just ask the board, perhaps considering honoring his Fifth Amendment privilege in case the board wants to ask him any questions after that admission, that be heard after the 29th of this month, in which I am representing him. As I said, I want to avoid a hearing. It's going to be an admission. I just don't want that to affect our hearing coming up on the 29th at Wabash District Court.
Your Honor, if I may. Hold on, Your Honor. The defense counsel wants to admit to all, my understanding would be admitting to all the charges, not just necessarily one charge, it would be all the charges. And what I had said beforehand was I would just present the evidence and read the statement of facts.
And that being said, if Mr. Akris is not objecting to the continuance, I think we'd be willing to go with 4.15. I apologize, Your Honor, I don't know off the top of my head. 3.02 and 4.18, but as I said, I don't want that to affect the hearing on the 29th, should the board have any questions regarding what took place on that evening, and him not be able to accurately answer those questions, because that would affect, as I said, his Fifth Amendment privilege. I don't want to assert that and have that have a negative impact on what's going to happen on the 29th. We're not asking for 6 months, we're not asking for not even a month. I mean, I'd be willing to come in the week after, that Thursday after, but the 29th is the Friday. We'd be more than willing to come back, and we'll put this on the record, ask those admissions, but I want the board to be able to fully ask questions of my client as to what transpired during both, I guess you would call it the affidavit, or reasons or facts or affidavit of the search warrant, and the results of that search. I believe the board is served. I believe the...
I've heard. Yes. You said you repeated yourself over and over. The request for postponement is denied, and I want to tell you some length why. this community board, which is what we are, a community board, not a court of record of the Circuit Court of Baltimore City, is here to regulate liquor licenses in the city of Baltimore. And it has always been my opinion, to some extent, that many times postponements occur in order to get rid of cases. Now, in your case, I think it's not true because you've admitted the charges and you're not trying to eliminate the possibility of what we may decide. But I don't think that we should stop and allow the process to stop just because there are other charges as a result of alleged conduct of your client. And that would, to me, it frustrates the very reason why we're here, which is to regulate liquor licenses. The Circuit Court of Baltimore City and criminal court, where the criminal court sits, is for punishment of criminal offenses. We're here for the punishment of liquor laws, which is a different criteria altogether. Therefore, the request is denied. But go ahead. Now you have to find out if we're still.
Correct.
If I may have a moment, Mr. Ackers, Judge.
Pardon?
If I may have a moment, Mr.
Sure.
Ackers, thank you.
Eventually. I know this is frustrating and hard for you to understand, being a legislator.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we have our,
We're going forward.
yes, thank you.
Of course,
Just testify.
absolutely.
Oh,
We're very interested to hear always what you have to say.
Your Honor. Likewise, especially when you say words like
Lately.
denied.
Lately.
Oh.
Years.
Yeah, late years.
It sounds like you two have a history.
We have a long history that we probably should not
It would
recount,
reveal
You're
our
on,
age.
you're on the
very-
record.
but it was,
You know, there's not a
It was
whole lot
strange
of
and
us
wonderful,
left.
right?
There's not a lot of us left.
let me say, for the record, we were always on opposing sides,
Really?
yes.
There's a story there.
May I have the evidence file, please?
There is a story
Judge, it's
there.
my understanding we're to proceed with the admission as to 4.25, 3.02, and 4.28. I apologize.
You're going to proceed with admission, which ones?
All three.
All.
Mr. Kim, you have a right to a hearing in this matter, which means you don't have to admit to anything. Mr. Ackers and the job of the state is.
What's going on?
He's
Wait.
admitting.
You're admitting to
Okay.
all three charges.
That's correct.
All right,
Ms. Peterson, more to your question, or?
all right.
I just want to know what's going on procedurally and make sure everybody else knows what's going
Correct.
Okay.
I'll keep it straight. That's my job.
Okay.
All right, the admission is received, therefore we don't need to swear people, and you may proceed with the facts.
Okay. On March
Your
12th,
Honor, Shall I qualify my client first, or?
Of course.
Thank you, Your Honor. You understand this matter, Kim, you're admitting to the three allegations in the case, which means the board at the end of that is more likely than not going to find you violated these three liquor license laws. You understand that? And based upon that, they could do nothing.
He needs to speak into the microphone.
Somewhat unlikely. They could give you a fine, they could suspend the license, or they could revoke the license. You understand that? You understand you don't have to admit to anything. If you're at the hearing here today, the officers, we're all here, I know many of them, would come and testify, and the board would have to find, more likely than not, what we call a preponderance of the evidence, that you violated this. You understand that? You understand this may have negative impacts on your criminal hearing coming up on the 29th of the District Court of the State of Maryland, Baltimore City. You understand that? And I fully discussed that with you. Is that correct? And knowing this, you're willing to go forward in this fashion. That you have questions of the judge or I before we proceed from what Mr. Ackers reads into the record of the police report. You have no questions, is my answer. Okay. Judge Williams qualified.
All right, fine. He understands what he's done, and I accept it, and we'll hear from you to establish the facts.
Your Honor, on March 12, 2015, at approximately 8:45 p.m., Baltimore City Police executed a search and seizure warrant at the Establishment Stadium Lounge located at 3351 through 53 Greenmount Avenue in Baltimore City. Executing the search warrant, Baltimore City officers seized 5 video slot machine motherboards, 5 video slot machine CPUs, 5 video slot machine power switches, and 4 payout slips and 1 gray Bank of America money bag, and U.S. currency totaling the amount of $7,867. The search and seizure warrant was based on probable cause established by Detective Akawande when he made direct undercover observations on February 26, 2015, from approximately 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at least 2 patrons receiving payouts for gambling on video machines located at Stadium Lounge. Upon executing the search warrant, the police were able to identify the licensee Domingo Kim on the presence, attempting to hide potential proceeds of gambling revenues in his personal vehicle. Your Honor, I have 5 pieces of evidence that I'm moving into the record. It is a police report as to the execution of the search and seizure warrant, which I believe you have. I have a true test copy of the search and seizure warrant here. I have pictures that were made by Detective Akawande. Detective Akawande on February 26th in his undercover investigation here. Sorry about that. And then I have exhibit number 4, which are photos either taken by Detective Gatto or Greenhill, I'm not sure. Okay. By the officers present in regards to this matter during the execution of the search warrant. Detective Greenhill, Your Honor, he's raising his hand. Yes.
This isn't working. Everyone needs to be sworn in, answer questions, and I need to know who's talking.
Judge,
No, this is, that, I decide that. Continue. You don't have to be sworn in. It's a guilty plea in this case.
and Judge, perhaps I'll save Mr. Akris some time in swearing everyone in. I'll have no objection to the admission of those records at this time.
All right, we want to get them identified properly, that's the only thing.
Correct, that's
So
right.
let's go back, let's get those pictures correctly identified.
So exhibit 1, police report. Exhibit 2, search warrant. Exhibit 3, undercover photos taken by Detective Akawande, February 26, 2015. Number 4 are pictures taken March 12, 2015 by officers present in regards to the execution of the search and seizure warrant.
Okay.
All 4 exhibits are entered
Collectively, exhibit 1.
collectively in the evidence file, and they've all been pre-marked.
All right.
And again, Your Honor, no objections for the record.
That would be for the court's case, and for the facts, Your Honor, I rest with the facts.
All right, do you have any additions or corrections as a result of the,
Not substantively, Your Honor, no.
okay. Now, do the commissioners have any questions or anything they want to ask?
I don't.
Not on responsibility, no.
All right, there is a plea, and I find that they're responsible for all the charges. Now, with respect to punishment,
Do you want me to, I don't know if there are any
I'm going to hear
individuals.
from everybody.
Okay, all right, and I just want, if you want me to line them up or anything like that, what you'd like me to do. May I turn my back to the board?
Sure.
Any individuals that want to be testifying in regards on the community side, in regards to the impact on the bar, we can form a line. You can actually form it behind the detectives right there.
Yeah.
And
And then I'm going to let you ask questions, too.
Thank you.
Are we,
Yeah.
are we swearing any of these individuals, Your
No,
Honor? Okay.
let's go.
All right. And you can start.
They just need to clearly state their names for the record.
When you step to the mic, clearly state your name for the record and give the information that you'd like to give in regards to the impact of this bar in the community. Oh, you're doing yours first?
Judge, I thought you would like them to speak first and then speak
Folks,
mitigation. Was my
I don't know
understanding.
what the problem is here today, but I am running the show, and I will decide what happens. The
That's what I'm
first
trying to
person,
figure out.
call your witness.
Go ahead.
Detective Abraham Gatto. As far as involving this bar, I know our department, the Vice Unit, there's only 4 of us. We've had to utilize our unit to go undercover due to several complaints that we've received from the community. As you can see, we present this case with, it took, I believe, a week of undercover investigations to make a case. And again, it's been a constant line of papers across our desk complaining about Stadium Lounge.
Okay,
May I ask a question, Your Honor?
sure.
And Officer, I apologize. What were those complaints specifically regarding?
There's gambling occurring inside the establishment, illegal poker gambling.
And that was the only complaint you received?
It's,
Only-
that's the one that I saw on my desk, but there have been numerous complaints.
Thank you.
All right, next witness.
Detective L.C. Greenhill, Vice. I've been in Vice since 2003. So the only thing I can attest to is that the numerous complaints Detective Gatto was referring to, that we've had complaints of underage drinking at this bar, excessive noise throughout the year, stuff like that. It has also prompted us to conduct underage alcohol investigations, in which we, I believe in one case we did accomplish where a minor was, a police cadet was served.
How long will you take, you both talk about complaints, you're talking about weeks, months, years?
As far as the underage cadet, I would say within the last 6 or 7 months, as far as the underage,
Come back in?
not the gambling, as far as the underage alcohol sale, the sale of alcohol to a underage police cadet.
Detective, was there any complaint brought by your department with the liquor board for enforcing underage drinking citation that serves as a cadet?
When we get the complaints, we just go out accordingly and address the complaint.
Okay, thank you.
Next.
My name is Timothy Chris. I'm an attorney. I represent the Guilford Association, which is the neighborhood community association of approximately 800 residences located directly west of the Greenmount York Road corridor. It's clear from these actions which have been admitted to by the defendant that these were not negligent acts or negligent omissions in the operation of the premises. These were intentional actions concerning gambling and the generation of gambling receipts and then attempting to hide those receipts. I think all these actions are at a level that we respectfully urge and request that the board revoke this license. As Judge Ward previously indicated, it is a privilege to sell alcoholic beverages in Baltimore City. Clearly, these acts have reached a level that we can no longer trust Mr. Kim in the operation of this establishment and the sale of alcoholic beverages. We respectfully urge that this license be revoked. Thank you.
No questions, Mr. Chris.
Let me say to all the witnesses, the commissioners may have questions later, so make sure you stay in the room. All right, next witness.
First of all, Mary Pat Clark, Baltimore City Council, 14th District. The Stadium Lounge is located right in the middle of my district. Could I ask, just for the board's gratification, that everyone's here today in opposition or in requesting that this license be terminated, that's not testifying stand, so you can see that we have a good crowd out here. These are from neighborhoods in the Waverly Main Street. Opposed. If you're opposed, be standing. If you're in favor of the license, sit down.
All right, so everyone.
Oh, Tom.
Kind of in the middle.
You're in the middle, right.
All right,
Thank you.
so everyone's standing over here, too.
Yes, that's correct, sir.
How many people are there?
20? 25?
All right, plus the ones that testified.
Right. I mean, I'll count later after I've testified, so I can give you an accurate, honest number, but.
All right, you may be seated. Go ahead.
Mary Pat Clark again. We are here today to ask that this license be terminated. We are brought here by a violation that is not a solo violation. Actually, the officers who have testified are citywide vice, so they would have seen just this complaint because it came from me and it came from Northern District directly to them to go and investigate what a witness had indicated to me about what was going on here about illegal payouts for gambling. Of course, they walked out that day of the search and seizure with $7,800 in cash from that day. And Mr. Kim, in the police report, was meanwhile trying to take some of that money out the door and put it in his vehicle. That is unfortunately kind of characteristic of the situation that we're facing here with this bar and with this owner. So we are here today, and I asked permission before people prepared their testimony and was told it was acceptable for us to testify today, not only about the illegal gambling that's going on, but other long-time issues the neighbors have complained to this board about in the past and are here to complain again and ask for relief.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
How long has this owner been in charge of this place?
I don't really know. I'm afraid he'll have to answer for that. I don't want to give the wrong answer.
It was 2007.
Okay,
So this present owner is from 2007 to
That's
the
correct.
present. All right,
correct.
so
And we've
that's
been-
the period that we're going to address then with respect to what your
Right.
complaints
And
are.
we'll probably address. I mean, your board has a record already of hearings in 2011, of hearings in 2013, of commitments made at that time, et cetera, et cetera. And the neighbors are here from various neighborhoods surrounding Stadium Lounge and also from Waverly Main Street itself to testify today, and they can do it firsthand. I just would like to say that this has been you heard the officer talk about he received complaints. He's citywide, he came in for a vice issue. I'm the city council representative. I receive complaints on an ongoing basis at community meetings, people emailing, people calling about various problems associated directly with Stadium Lounge. They have to do with, first of all, the illegal gambling that was going on that got brought to your attention. Second of all, the hours which attract people early and late, and in many respects distract our own Northern District Police, who are trying to help us on Greenmount Avenue and vicinity, draw them in to pay attention to one establishment instead of being out throughout the neighborhood as we desire. Secondly, or thirdly,
Tell us why, I mean, what,
because of
besides gambling, what?
this loitering and the exiting from that bar, inebriation, and just general noise and commotion at various times of the day, especially as the bar is closing up at night. But even in the morning, it is a problem, just the loitering when people are just trying to walk down the street, because this package store opens, I believe the bar opens at 6 a.m. So here we are trying to rebuild this neighborhood, and here we have this problem. This summer, we'll finally open the Waverly Library again and renovate it. It's almost done. We've built a brand-new school, 2 blocks, one's a long block, 2 blocks away from this very lounge. And it is now, in August, going to open its citywide middle school academic program.
Objection.
Your reason?
Your Honor, this is not germane in any certain way, the opening of certain schools in a citywide program initiative.
Because they change buses at Greenmount.
I disagree, because what they're testifying to is that they're trying to improve the entire neighborhood, and they're describing their attempts to improve it. I assume that this is an improvement from what they say.
It's an
And
improvement and.
Wait a minute, Councilwoman. And they're saying your bar is hindering the improvement, so that's why they're doing it. Go ahead.
I was just going to make the point that we're opening a citywide middle school program. We've waited for it. We were promised it by the school board when they removed our kids from Roland Park Middle School. And so now we're opening it in August 2015. And it means more and more of our children from that school will be walking those 2 blocks down past that very bar at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to make their bus connections to go home all over the city. I will ask this board, I will say one last thing about it. I did not push the issue with the neighbors to put in a petition for the annual renewal, to put in a petition against that, because I recognize that it is somewhat intimidating for people to do that. You have to be in the immediate vicinity. This is a neighborhood where everybody walks around, they know each other, everybody knows everybody. And because of the crowds that hang around the bar because of Mr. Kim himself, although he is not, he probably doesn't intend it, it's intimidating. And so when this came up, I was told that we could bring any of our complaints to this board for your record and ask for revocation. What you do is your decision, but that we were allowed to do so. I thank you for that opportunity.
Any questions?
When did you start receiving ongoing complaints regarding the operation of the bar?
Years ago.
Okay, so you never did anything before then? Today's the
We've
day?
been to this board. I mean, this is not the first time we've been here.
If I could,
That's my answer, is no.
2013.
Wait a minute, let her answer, and then you.
And then you can, well, I did, I answered. I've been here, we've been here, it's been here.
About what matters concerning this bar?
It was not the gambling until now, because it took the vice Scott. No, I don't remember exactly, except I remember what the agreements were.
Who were those agreements?
The agreements will be testified by today, and if they're not, I'll be happy to step back and talk about them. They had to do with orderly, taking responsibility for the exterior of the bar, and how it impacts upon the neighbors, and how it is a responsibility of someone running a bar to also be responsible for the hanger-arounders that are there. For example, trash and debris that comes from people as they're leaving the bar, and who's supposed to pick it up. And so that was part of the agreement, too. I was mistaken and thought it was a memorandum of understanding, but it's not. It was commitment made to this board and is on this board's record.
Do you remember when that was?
I'm not sure, but I think it was 2011
Is it not true?
and 13.
Is it not true that your office approached through my office, through Mr. Kim, in order to speak and to enter into a memorandum of understanding?
I'm sorry, what?
Did we ask you to actually enter into a written memorandum of understanding for this board?
Did you ask me? No, I wouldn't be party to that. It would be the community.
I didn't ask you that in the hallway earlier.
I'm sorry.
Did I ask you if we could discuss entering into a memorandum of understanding
Oh, I
regarding
said
the
no.
operation of the bar? You're saying no, that never happened.
No, you did ask me that. I said no to you.
Okay,
You said no, there's no compromise, there's no willingness
No,
to...
no, no, I didn't say all those words. I said, no, there already was a memorandum, and it hasn't been observed, but I was corrected when Regina Boyce, then president of Waverly Improvement, joined us and said, no, it wasn't a memorandum of understanding. It was a commitment made to the board.
I have no further questions, Judge.
Oh, well, you asked about our conversation.
I have no further questions.
I have to answer him.
He's asking you a question, and let's get on. You have any other questions?
No further questions, Judge.
Thank you.
Next, your name, ma'am?
Mary Bond.
And what do you have to tell us?
I live directly across the street from this bar. I've lived there for 34 years, under 3 different owners.
I can imagine what you have to say.
And, the public urination is the biggest thing that I complain about. And they come out of the bar, go straight into the little alley directly opposite my porch, and urinate.
Now, is this within the period of this ownership?
Oh, yeah. We've talked.
And you, go ahead, sir, ma'am.
Yeah, it's just such a, should I say, a diverse crowd of people, and they're usually on the sidewalk. And when they're not on the sidewalk, they're across the street sitting on my steps, which I've called the police, I don't know how many times this year about them, and no one ever comes. They ask me if I will file a complaint, and I give them my name, et cetera. This is the police now. They don't come. So I've given up on that. But as I say, I've lived there for 34 years, and I've witnessed a really unbelievable change in the attitude and the behavior of the people that go into the bar and how they just loiter. I know you can't smoke inside anymore, so that's a big problem, but they're not out there smoking. No, most of them aren't smoking. It's just a place to talk and carry on and, socialize. And I guess the bathroom is not sufficient because they come straight out of the bar into the alley and use the alley. And we've complained about this.
No questions, lady.
All right, next witness.
Hi, my name is Sonia Merchant Jones,
and I serve on the Board of Directors of the Better Waverly Community Organization. Sonia Merchant Jones. I currently chair the board.
Glad to hear from you.
Thank you. The Better Waverly Community Organization. That is quite all right. I have been a patron, have lived in Better Waverly, for over 50 years. My children, my great-grandparents, we all used to shop in that community for just about anything you could want, we could get. It's a family place. That's the way that we choose for it to remain. As I've visited your establishment, I have observed for myself how unkept you keep it. You're a businessman, and you've been there by your representatives on admission since 2007. There's absolutely no reason that there should be trash there. If you have to clean up every hour on the hour, that's what, as a business person, I would do, because I want people to welcome me into their nice community. I want to be a part of what it means to keep it nice. I'm sure you would not want that in front of your own home. I wouldn't allow it in front of mine. And so with that said, you know, there's a lot of wonderful things that are going on. Of course, every community has its challenges. But, you know, just speaking from a sentiment, I want that the memories that I had of Greenmount Avenue, and like I said, I've been on Greenmount Avenue as a patron for 50 years. I put my high school ring at Zales. It no longer exists. But Stadium Lounge does. And it has a history that when the baseball games and football games were over, the residents would go there, hopefully to see some of the players from the game. And word on the street is they would come by and stop there often. You can't do that now. I want the children who are coming up, this generation, to have wonderful memories as I had. They won't be able to do that because when you walk past, you smell urine, the cigarettes, the cursing, the fighting, the arguing. Can you buy me a drink? What can you do for me? Can I get some money, ma'am? And I have my purse. Can you give me some money to buy alcohol? And, you know, that is just totally unacceptable. Young people will see that and think that it's the norm. It is not the norm. And so you have to be, or you should want to be, a part of what makes Waverly, the Waverly Village, the best that it can be. And as far as I'm concerned, you have not done that. And so because of it, I am asking, not just for myself personally, but for the board that I serve on, that your license be revoked as soon as possible. Thank you.
Just a minute. Wait a minute.
I have no questions. Your Honor, I would just make a continuing objection to the record for any testimony not directly dealing with the charges here today.
Overruled. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And stay around because the commissioners may have some questions later. Next witness. Your name?
Good afternoon, Mark Councilman, and I live on the 3400 block of Oakenshaw Place. But more importantly, I run a community garden called the Brentwood Avenue Orchard, which is in the alley directly across the street from the Stadium Lounge.
And we built this garden because 5 years ago, we had a problem where we had these vacant lots and there were guys passed out in them every afternoon and thousands of bottles and people using the bushes as toilets, and it was disgusting. So the neighborhood...
From 2007 until date?
Yes, sir. So we signed an adopt-a-lot agreement with the city and put up a fence. The community said, enough, we're going to put up a fence, and we did, 5-foot tall fence, and we got fruit trees and all this. So I spend a few hours a week out there in the alley across from the Stadium Lounge, and I have a front row seat on what's going on. And the second thing we did, in addition to taking control of these lots, was in 2011, the neighbors, the Oakenshaw Improvement Association, I was then the president, with Waverly and Guilford and Charles Village and Able and all the communities that are here today, petitioned the renewal, in opposing the renewal of the liquor license. And I met with Mr. Kim in his office, and we talked about, oh, we're going to do better, and let's communicate, and let's meet. And we entered these agreements in 2011 in the renewal of the license. And they were about the people wandering around and the using the toilets in the alley and the trash. Well, here we are again in 2015. I'm in my garden.
What happened in 2011?
In 2011, these agreements were made, and there are a set of 3 or 4 conditions that are in the record of the renewal of the license.
Are they in the documents that you presented today?
No, sir. There should be in the renewal.
So what were they?
The one which I will comment on was about cleaning up liquor, or the litter within 2 blocks. And we stood in this room and we discussed what the radius would be, 2 blocks this way, 2 blocks that way. Well, the point, and then we discussed how we were going to have regular communication between the neighborhood associations and the licensee. And, you know, all these agreements require good faith, right? I mean, and now we're at gambling. How are we going to have a meeting between a volunteer neighborhood association and someone who's running illegal gambling? I mean, this is a step in the wrong direction. So I'm out in my garden. I should be playing golf or tennis or coaching Little League, but I'm out in my vacant lot garden in the alley across from the bar, and every morning at 6 o'clock, I'm glad you're having this hearing because we have a problem. It starts at 6 a.m., 7 days a week. Guys staggering around the alley, drinking beer out of plastic or out of paper bags, peeing in the alley when I'm standing right there with my kids. And I'm still, I pick up 100 little airline bottles every week that are tossed all over the alley where Mr. Kim agreed to clean. So I come from Oakenshaw asking that you revoke this license. This is a problem. We're trying to move forward in the community, and this is not helping, and there's no good faith here. So I appreciate your time.
Sir, you mentioned there's 4 conditions in that agreement from your recollection. Do you remember the other ones you've said? Litter from a 2-block premises, do you remember? I'm not trying to question you, but it seems there was some agreement that was made that no one knows about nor quite accurately remembers in any way. I'm not questioning you because I'm being rude about it. If I can get all 4.
Wait a minute, sir. We're not testifying as to what, that somebody doesn't remember it and so forth and so on. Just ask questions. That's your opportunity to ask him questions, not testify.
And I think it was a pretty direct question. Do you remember the other 3 conditions?
I do not, but when we came in, you were in the lobby discussing them with your client.
No, folks, we're not going to go out in that hall.
Okay, again, I wasn't trying to be rude, Judge. I want to know them myself, quite frankly, but thank you. No more questions.
All right, next witness.
Good afternoon. I'm Police Agent John Perfetto from the Northern District Community Relations. Prior, it's P-E-R-F-E-T-T-O. F-E-T-T-O.
All right, and you're community relations for the...
Relations, and prior to that, I was assigned to the Green Mountain Foot Squad from 2013 to the end of 2014.
Okay. Be glad to hear from you.
Thank you. Bring some numbers here just to get some for police calls for service. Going back to 2014, it was only 18 calls for the address 3351 Greenmount. 2 of them were not probably related to the bar. They were accidents. Out of all the 16 calls, it looks like 10 were for disorderly or drunken conduct. This year so far, from January 1st to May 2nd, there's a total of 11 calls per service there, and all of them appear to be related to the establishment, 6 of them being calls for drunken disorderly persons. And I just want to say, prior to working community relations, I was a part of a 3-man foot squad down there. We had coverage Monday through Friday, 7 days a week, from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. So we were on top of the loitering there. We pretty much did keep it clear during that time. Unfortunately, there was a problem. I know Mr. Kim. I'd spoke to Mr. Kim about one of the things outside was a lack of lighting. There was lighting, and I spoke to him at least on 2 occasions that the lighting be fixed, because I knew a matter of time, especially on the side of the building where a lot of the patrons come out to smoke. It was very dark there. So I did ask him. He said it would be a good idea to fix the lighting.
So what happened?
It was never fixed.
How long a period of time was this?
I would say within over a year.
Back in 2013 when I first talked to him.
Okay, anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Questions?
No question, Judge.
All right, thank you. Stay behind. Next witness, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Regina Boyce. I am a resident of Waverly, past president of the Waverly Improvement Association. The actual president is, yes, sir, the actual president is here. And I'm currently the board chair of Waverly Main Street. I'd like to start briefly but thoroughly to kind of clear up some things that have been said. In 2011, Mark Councilman and I actually sat in Domingo's office and did talk about what we can do and what we cannot do. So as a community, we did come together to work this out. one of the asks at that time was, because it is a BD7 license, asking could he open later. Instead of opening at 6 in the morning, you know, at the time I was walking in the morning, by the time I get home at 7 in the morning, you know, it's 5 or 6 people walking up the street with a black bag. Anyway, the conditions end up being not so much a written MOU, but a memorandum of understanding on record that a 2-block radius would be cleaned around the facility, that Mr. Kim, and I told this to the gentleman here, I forgot, Mr. Boozer, when I was out in the hallway, that no minis, liquor minis could be sold, I think from like May until it was like November. We did talk about communicating more. I made it a point to stop at his establishment often to deliver community newsletters. As board chair, I made it a point to invite him to not only to our board, but also to sit on our board meetings. As a member of Waverly Main Street, it's never our intention to work against a business, is to work with the business. And so in that, we have been communicating, trying to invite him out, trying to get to different things. I do want to speak to at this time what I would call the deterioration of the Stadium Lounge. In 2007, Mr. Kim did come to the Waverly Improvement Association stating he wanted to be involved, stating that he wanted to sponsor, I don't know, a kids' sport team. Some of the community members just didn't want to buy it, considering they did not like the upkeep of the facility. To move forward, I could walk in, ask for Mr. Kim. Mr. Kim wouldn't be there or not be there. That's not the issue. I would leave materials, so on and so forth. It is now 2015. I have to be buzzed in and out because of the robberies that take place there, because of the incidents that happen here. Now it's not a safe place and necessarily a community bar to be able to walk in and walk out. You have to be buzzed in, you have to be buzzed out. And that's just showing that distinction of, over time, Stadium Lounge has always been known as like a bit of a rowdy bar, but now it's at the point where, you have to be buzzed in and buzzed out. You can't even, and the incidents that occurred there, the robberies that occurred, I mean, we have a lot going on Greenmount Avenue. We are working on a streetscape project that's coming and other developments that are coming. And again, it is never our intention to go against a business, but in this case, I would have to say, after trying, I definitely agree with my neighbors. And
You agree with it, what?
The revocation of the license.
Revocation? Okay. Questions?
No questions, Judge.
All right, next, hang around. Yes, ma'am, come over.
Good afternoon. Emily Drasher, for the Executive Director of Waverly Main Street.
And your last name is spelled?
Drasher, D-R-A-S-H-E-R.
D-R-I-S?
D-R-A-S-H-E-R.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I would also like to call attention that I did submit a letter on behalf of our organization that outlines what certain parts of the agreement were, which was to clean up the 2-block radius, to stop selling many bottles of liquor, and to meet regularly with the affected community associations.
Just wanted to make sure, you're talking about the time period of this owner who's operating?
Yes, this was from 2011, I believe, was the agreement. So this has been brought before the Liquor Board twice already, in 2011 and 2013, for other various wrongdoing, if we can say that. And now here we are again. Each time it seems like it's something new, but none of the problems from before have been fixed.
I just want to, and I don't think I have to say it, but not before this particular liquor board, but the prior liquor board.
Yes.
And all these mentions.
I apologize.
Go ahead.
But we are trying to, what the mission of Waverly Main Street is the economic revitalization of Greenmount Avenue. We are trying to make this much more family-friendly Greenmount Avenue, and it seems that Stadium Lounge, everything that they're doing is in complete contrast to what our mission is and what suits the community best. And unfortunately, it seems that we've kind of lost faith in what Mr. Kim is willing to do to better the community and to better his business. And for that, we would ask for revocation as well.
All right, questions?
No questions.
All right, stick around. Next witness.
Good afternoon. Matt Metzger. I'm a resident of 34th Street, live right between Stadium Lounge. Metzger.
Okay.
And I live between the Waverly Elementary School and the Stadium Lounge. I've got 2 school-age kids. I walk out my door to go to work around 7 a.m. every morning, regularly observe people walking down the street, either drinking, already drunk. They throw trash in front of my yard.
Between 2007 and today?
Yes, it is. I've been there for 6 years now.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
And again, I'm excited to see the growth of the new school. We've got a school that's growing in capacity, as Mary Pat already mentioned. We're expecting to have more students from around the city, which would increase the traffic walking down 34th Street from Greenmount because of the bus transportation.
All right, anything else?
That's it.
And your position with respect to the license?
I think it should be revoked.
All right, questions? All right, stick around, next witness.
Hi, Ira Cowler, Greater Homewood Community Corporation.
And how do you spell your last name?
Kowler.
Glad to hear from you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to point out that we had submitted about a dozen various letters from both community residents, from a variety of community organizations. I'm sorry, the community writ large. So, and you received most of those yesterday. I wanted to point out we also had received this morning letters from, or submitted this morning letters from the Waverly Elementary Middle School, the Oakenshaw Improvement Association, and one resident who.
Now, are these during the period of this ownership from 2007 to date?
Sure, the things they speak to reflect that period,
Right, now,
yes.
I have a group of letters here, and are they all in? If not, we'll move them in. Okay, move them all in and mark them.
Beautiful. So,
Yes, sir.
so I just wanted to point out that we have letters from, I believe, in total, 3 community associations, a local elementary school, a Main Street, a community nonprofit, a council person, and a half dozen residents, I believe.
The problem is, we didn't want to read the letters before we reach a decision as to whether they're responsible or not for the charge.
Sure.
Once we do that, then we go to the issue of punishment. Now we can read the letters with respect to punishment.
Absolutely.
We don't want to color our initial decision. And that's
Understood.
why we haven't read them up to now. All right. Now, what's your position with respect to the license?
And as Greater Homewood Community Corporation, we support revoking the license.
All right. Now, I think we've reached all the witnesses. Any questions of this witness? All right. Now, with respect to commissioner questions.
I have none.
I do have a question.
Pick your witness. I don't know.
Ms. Boyce.
Which one?
Regina Boyce. You mentioned that you had to, that when you first start, you're the only witness, I think, that's actually been into the establishment.
Yes.
And Mr. Councilman had been in as well, he indicates. But you testified that when you first started going there, you could just walk in.
Right, so that you could just walk right in, but over the years, given, I guess, issues, robberies, burglaries, whatever, you have to be buzzed in and out. So
So-
it's like they've built on like this little rectangular thing on the inside, so like you almost like walk through a tunnel and then come in, so you have to be buzzed in, you have to be buzzed in and out
So
through this.
if you decide that you want to leave, you have to wait for someone to hit a buzzer for you to actually exit?
I
Or can you
believe so.
just-
It's been a while since I've actually been inside through the buses, but I remember you hold on, let me make sure. You walk in, and then once you get through to the door, you have to be buzzed in. Yeah, it's like a little, I don't know, I keep calling it a tunnel, but it's like you walk in, so it's a build-out, essentially.
Okay.
You walk in, and there's a rectangular build-out. So you walk in, and then you're buzzed in.
All right, and you live how many blocks?
I live on Old York Road in the 3500 blocks. I'm about 4 blocks away.
Okay, and you
But I
mentioned-
often drive down Greenmount and I walk in the neighborhood. So.
Right, and there was an issue with loitering and trash. And have
Absolutely.
you ever personally observed any of that?
Unfortunately, yes.
And is that a regular occurrence, or is that
Normal.
something
I mean,
that's the average?
The average normal, yes. People out, people hanging out, people.
So
trash.
a reference has been made to a 2011 and 2013 efforts to get some understanding as to how
Right.
the lounge would exist.
Right.
Has that, in your observation, have those agreements been adhered to? Has there been
From my letter,
compliance?
I basically stated that the only condition that seemed to have been met from my point of view and observation was the cleaning. So usually the 3400 block that I've seen is usually pretty clean.
Okay.
And out front, but other than that, there's no, anything else hadn't been observed, other than I know, again, for that 6 or 7 month period, they were not allowed to sell minis. But again, the establishing of the relationships between communities, again, I definitely did my part. And so it just wasn't reciprocated.
Okay.
So, right.
So in the last, for 2015, I think there was testimony of 11 service calls. Have you had any negative experience with the lounge in 2015 with respect to activity of noise, trash, loitering? Have you personally observed any of that?
Yes, I mean, it's I don't know how you say it. You feel defeated at times. It's just ongoing. You're always seeing somebody with their black bag. You always see somebody drunk. You always see somebody hanging out in front, you know. There's the trash and then there's not the trash. You know, it's something that's consistent. I mean, if anything that's been consistent, it's that. It's the loitering, it's the hanging out. It's the issues that happen thereof. I know, and this, unfortunately, I'm sorry, this is like hearsay rumor, but I understand that, you know, Mr. Domingo himself has been robbed at his establishment. And, you know, you have to,
The owner, Your Honor.
the owner has to speak to whether or not you're running a good establishment if you yourself are now are a victim in your own place.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Not of Ms. Boyce, but for Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, I mean, you testified about the constituent concerns and that it sounds like that's been an issue for some period of time.
It's what Ms. Boyce said, basically. It's just part of the routine for me. And it's been consistent and for a long, long time. When she was talking here just now, I thought, that's how I feel too. It's become part of our lives, and you just can't jump up every day, but this is an opportunity for us to come together and say, we're tired of it, and it shouldn't be part of our normal life to live with that situation. And this was dramatic enough. The $7,800 in one place on Greenmount Avenue is a very big deal to me. And it was big enough to say, all right, community has gathered itself together to say, really? Can you help us?
Okay. All right, thank you. That's it for me.
I'm ready for,
Is there, it looks like there's additional test,
can't hear you.
looks like there's an additional statement that wants to be made.
No, I'm not gonna reopen it. We're now at the issue of your position, we're at the issue of our decision.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And before that, I'd like to hear from what you think it should be.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address Councilwoman's comment about the $7,800 first. If you would note, in reading the search warrant, the money was not only taken from the machines, it was taken from an ATM, it was taken from the drawer. This was not some kind of large cash dump illegal establishment. The whole place was wiped out of all of its cash. So I don't believe that the allegation can be made, and unless the officers want to correct me if I'm wrong, the money was taken, if you would, officer, maybe?
No, we're not, you know,
I just want to clarify, Your Honor.
I have trouble
Very well,
you
I understand.
reopening my hearing.
I won't reopen it then. But that being said, again, you have the search warrant in front of you. It was taken from every conceivable source inside there. There wasn't a large cash dump. He's owned the place for 8 years, and yes, we've heard testimony regarding the oral memorandum of understanding, which was for a period of 6 months. I'm not sure why that wasn't enforced. I'm not sure why it wasn't put in writing. He is part of the community. He's been there, but he needs to get on board with the community. I remember going by there as a little boy all the time to go to Memorial Stadium, and my parents and other neighbors would tell me stories. That's where you would go, as I believe one of the ladies testified to, before and after the games. It was a community establishment. Unfortunately, I believe probably it's the loss of the stadium and loss of the businesses, the nature of the neighborhood has changed a bit. I can't thank enough the people who came out here and spoke actually quite elegantly, the neighbors in the neighborhood, and I do understand their concerns, which means Mr. Kim needs to get on board. We need a Do you have a question, ma'am?
You will know when I have a question, because I'll ask it.
She sighed and looked at me, Your Honor. I just thought-
Mr. Boozer, what
I
is,
apologize. So, he needs
I
to get on
should say,
board.
council, observe their rules.
Thank you. He needs to get on board in terms of sitting down, and I've offered this to the councilwoman. I did not hear back from her office in regards to this. But I would say that we need to sign into a firm memorandum of understanding. Okay, it is gambling. I understand that. That's why we're here. That's exactly why they're here. But that's not the problem that we're dealing with. You're dealing with an establishment that, in my opinion, quite frankly, is open too many hours. He has a right to open at 6 a.m., but maybe that's a solution that we can come to. Maybe it's something the board can impose. I think there are other ways around this, not in terms of revocation. I will implore him and work with him to sit down with the community and work this thing out, or I will tell him, as sure as Your Honor will tell him, your license will be revoked if you do not get on board. You need to be part of this community. It is a long-standing establishment, which I said, I remember when I was a child. I never went there as a child, but seeing the large mural on the side when you go southbound on York Road, it is a Baltimore tradition. It's been there for quite a long time, and it is a high-traffic area. You're right up there from Greenmount next to the BP gas station. There are a lot of people going in and out, and I think one of the residents put it best, it is a walking neighborhood. People walk around a lot. It's vibrant. People are doing things. People are out, which is what communities should be like. But I don't believe the message in revoking his license because of gambling. And again, if we started talking about the problems of gambling, maybe we shouldn't have opened 2 casinos just on the way down here. I saw a sign advertising on a billboard, $1 billion in payouts and counting. Gambling's not the problem here. Did he violate that? Yes.
Legal gambling's not the problem. Illegal gambling is the problem.
But again, I think it's
So
an
you should
intellectually
keep focus
disingenuous.
on where you
I
are.
think it's an intellectually disingenuous argument to say that gambling is absolutely hurting the community when our community leaders
His
are.
illegal gambling is the issue before us.
I don't see
And
that-
lots of other issues that the community is
Right, and I
complaining
think
about.
illegal gambling is the only issue before this board. And as I said, that being said, I want to parlay it into a greater conversation with the community and have him better serve that community. He needs to be part of the community. It's been there for close to 60 years, I believe. He needs to get on board, and if he doesn't abide by, which I thought should have been, as I said, close to 5 years ago, a written memorandum of understanding, I probably won't be standing here with him, because this board needs to be heard and everything needs to be put in writing. Revoking him won't do him any service. It will take away from his livelihood. But getting him on board with the community is absolutely the thing to do, Your Honor. That being said, and as I said, I'll speak to the money again, there was $7,862 taken. That money was not gambling money. That money was taken from ATMs. It was taken from the cash register. It was taken from any other source in the establishment. And I've been doing gambling cases like this long enough, Judge, I know it is the practice of the department to take all the money, because technically, under a forfeiture civil proceeding, you can make links with gambling. It's not too difficult because it's standard of proof in those cases. But I ask you to take that into consideration, give him an incredibly short leash, allow him to get on board with the community. I met briefly outside with members of the community. They're actually very, very nice people. But that being said, Your Honor, I'd ask you to consider some kind of fine or suspension and allow him enough rope to prove to this board that he can be part of this community and keep his livelihood.
All right, with respect to the decision, we've already found out that, of course, that he's acknowledged the responsibility for all 3 charges of 4.15, 3.02, and 4.18. Therefore, I address those 3. First of all, with respect to the revocation of the license, the Liquor Board rules provide for a special type of hearing with respect to the end of a license in April of each year. And the community, for some reason, has failed to avail himself of this opportunity on this license. Therefore, we're here today, and while we still have the power to revoke a license for punishment, the issue here is, can we revoke a license for the charges that are in front of us, and with respect to the conduct of this community, this license, generally speaking. And I find that to revoke the license totally is at the wrong time, although the background and testimony is almost overwhelming as to the conduct of this bar. Therefore, I address myself to what I think is a proper punishment based upon all the things which I've just said. But the conduct is so bad, and the illegal gambling it seems wide open, that I revoking this license for a period of 4 months. Not revoking, suspending this license for a period of 4 months with a fine of $3,000 on each charge, making a total of $9,000. Now let me say something else about this that has really nothing to do with the decision, and that is, everybody talks about from 2007 and to date, and with respect to how wonderful this place was years ago, in no way am I going to take into consideration my personal knowledge of this bar, which was a horrendous operation 40 and 50 years ago, with prostitution and everything I can think of, including Mike Ward, who used to be the swamper in this place, who would tell me things, and so forth, who lived in the 10th Ward. So this place has been a continual problem, but none of that am I using as a part of my decision. But I was interested in hearing about the fact that apparently was a reformation at some point in life, and things might have gotten better. But for some reason or other, this location on this corner of Greenman Avenue seems to be a tough spot from 2007 under your ownership, sir. And you've got to straighten out. The 4 months, I will be gone as the chairman of this commission because I am quitting. But you are giving a warning that you're going to be back again, and I hope that this community knows that we have a secret file for anybody who wants to make a complaint at any time. Our executive secretary will record it and not reveal who makes the complaint, and we'll turn it over to our inspectors to go out and see whether or not there has been validity with respect to the complaint. And if you come back again, I'm sure the new board, minus me, will be rougher maybe. I don't know. But this is just a slap on the wrist, really. So I'm not, my decision, and we have 2 more decisions coming, is not to revoke you for good, but to give you a 4-month suspension with a, how much was the fine?
$9,000, sir.
$9,000 fine because of the gambling. Obviously, I feel that you can pay it, and may have to take it out of the bank. But it's, how much time do you need to pay?
May, Your Honor. If you could pay it by the time his 4-month suspension is done, Your Honor, that is quite a bit of money.
4 months to pay. That's my decision. Next question.
So my recommendation, obviously you're feeling responsible, but I would impose a 6-month suspension of the liquor license. And here's why. In addition to all of the testimony that we've seen, the efforts to conceal the money, to hide out and to conceal in your car, says to me, you know exactly what you're doing, you know it's wrong, and you went to extraordinary efforts to avoid responsibility. And for that reason, I impose the higher length of suspension. I agree with the $3,000 fine for each violation. So my recommendation is a 6-month suspension of the license and a total fine of $9,000.
This order has been before us before. I'm talking from 2008 and 2013. In 2008, he was fined $3,000 and 5-day suspension. That's a big hit. In 2013, and that's the last board, that's not this board. In 2013, he was fined $625. I mean, we can keep fining, but it doesn't seem to work. It just doesn't work. I know the Stadium Lounge. I bought property in Edna Gardens in 1976. I know the neighborhood. I lived there for 20 years plus before moving out. And Joyce, the place did improve, by the way.
Okay.
Yes, it did. And the place did improve. The Stadium Lounge did improve. And your attorney made a statement. He said, we don't want to affect your livelihood. But what about the respect and peace for that neighborhood? What do they deserve? I mean, I'm just disappointed in that place. I spent many years working in that district. I've seen that place going through one level to another. It's getting worse. I've seen the folks hanging out in front of that place. I've seen the evidence of the bottles in the alley and on the lot. I've seen it. I am in agreement, 6 months and $3,000 per fine. I wish you had said more.
Yeah, well, you should, it's up to your attorney, sir, and we've gone through that area now.
That's the judge is correct.
You have our decision,
Thank you, Judge.
and I believe that's our last case. And we'll stand in recess. We'll push that over, that's it. Okay, gang. Next week, I think we all off, don't we?
You do?
Again? I don't want to be off.
Nope, you don't? Nope, your next case is the 28th.
Right, next week we're off.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
Yes, I read it.
Oh, good, okay.
I actually read it.
That's right, we are
Next
off.
time he wants to get cute with me.
Misheard. I was curious. Just going to reschedule something.